In this video, I want to share with you why having a child or a young person who is struggling is actually a gateway to transformation. Now, what I mean by that is that I'm not attempting to diminish the struggle that someone is having. In fact, it enhances and allows a new possibility for healing and for growth to occur when we have this new context. And at the end of this video, you will have a certain way of looking at this situation, experiencing the situation that creates a sense of, I don't want to say hope, but possibility that will expand your ability to be of help. Okay? So anytime a person struggles, there is an opportunity to do something different, to be new. And in Joseph Campbell's work of The Hero's Journey, for example, the hero has a call to action and they leave the known world. So for you as a parent, the known world is probably being left behind because you don't know what to do, or at least don't know what to do in some situations. You don't know how to help. You don't know how to be. You don't know what to say. You don't know what kind of boundaries you should have because they're not following boundaries. They're beyond boundaries. You don't know what to do. You're leaving the known world. And one thing that I really want you to take away from this experience that you're having is that for them to change, you are going to have to change. Now, they are in some ways dragging you into this, you could say, right? Through their choices or through their struggle. They are taking you into it. They are ushering you into a new way of being where you're leaving your known world and going into the unknown. Now, as painful as this might be to see them harming themselves in certain ways or see them making choices that are just like, what are you doing? Oh my God. For them, and it's probably revealing some pain for you, behind the other side of that pain is a new experience of yourself. If you stick with and stay focused on how you can get to the other side of the pain, and what I mean by that is, what does the pain teach you about yourself? What does your suffering teach you about yourself? Now, in order to gain some wisdom from that suffering, you'll have to stay dedicated to opening to what's beyond the veil of the pain and the suffering and the stress that you're experiencing. Now, part of that will be finding a mentor. Like in Joseph Campbell's work, The Hero's Journey, you find a mentor. You get some supernatural aid is another way of saying it. So you are probably being forced in a way to lean on people like myself or in this world of psychology or mentors or support to learn more about them. Please, please never neglect how you need to learn about yourself as much as, and if not more than them. The more that you can bring balance into learning about yourself, and with every tool that you find to work with your kid, which my channel has a lot of, by the way, find tools for yourself. And beyond tools, find new ways of being in this new life experience for yourself. It does not have to be painful and stressful all the time. Now, I'm always going to bring this around to how this is better for the child, even though, because that's, I think, probably what you're focused on is like, how can I help my kid? And this will help them because it will take some of the burden of responsibility of the spotlight off of them and put it on you. Whenever a young person struggles, especially if it's like the only struggle in the family, there is this implied and implicit perspective they take on that it's all my fault and I'm effing up the family. I'm screwing it up. Even if they're like, I hate all of you, this is all your fault. There is always, and I mean always, the narrative of how they suck. This narrative of self-criticism, of self-hatred. In fact, a quick tangent here. The most angry, oppositional, defiant young people are also always the most self-critical, self-judgmental, and have the most self-hatred in the world. They are directly correlated. I haven't seen any research on this, but I can tell you that having worked with probably around 10,000 young people in the 24 years that I've been working with young people therapeutically, I've never seen an exception, and I've only seen the more angry they are, the more they hate themselves. Now, I've been, in a way, very fortunate because I've been able to work with them on a very deep level in my experience of intensive therapy programs. So I've been able to see The more oppositional they are, wow, the more self-hatred that exists there. They just don't reveal it, right? So it's important for you to know that. Now, all that being said, why I'm sharing that? Because the more that you can take responsibility for this struggle in the family as an opportunity for self-transformation, for self-growth, for new insights, it relieves them of some of the pressure that they have to change and have to be different. And in fact, it's all their fault. Now, it would be too Pollyanna to say, this is just a great opportunity all the time. It's not. I get it. It's painful. It's hard to see other people struggle. There's an induced stress on the family with their siblings, with your other kids, between you and your spouse perhaps, and it is messy. And it's absolutely essential to note how hard and painful it is. So I'm not skipping over that. In fact, the focus of this video is to pierce the pain and the suffering that you might be experiencing and consciously look for the gems for yourself and for the family, and how, as in addition to this being a struggle, it is also an opportunity. One of my colleagues actually just said, it's like they're not doing anything wrong. Like there's nothing wrong happening. Now let me put on my monk hat here for a moment. Nothing is wrong. What if you could say that about the world, right? Now I can't say that about the world because it's not my experience. I see war, I see famine, I see people doing atrocious things to each other. I see terror. I see people propagating violence and terror and fascism and racism in a lot of places in the world. So it's not to say that we shouldn't do anything about it or that everything's fine. But what if this was just the experience that humanity needed to have to be able to transform? Now, I'm not asking you to take on being a monk or even take on that perspective, but just to know that that perspective exists in the world. And when one practices that, it creates a brand new, fresh perspective. It doesn't have us not do anything. It's not a call to inaction. It's not a call to just meditating more or suffer or surrendering more to just like, well, there's nothing I can do. I'll just see everything as it is. It's just fine. Everything's fine. No, it's bullshit. Everything's not fine. And yet, there's a way of relating to the world that accepting it as it is for now, releasing any resistance that we might have to doing, to changing it, to wrestling with it, to fighting with it. And now I'm talking about your kid and the world, right? Releasing the feeling compelled to fight and struggle with it, and to accept that this is how it is for now. Why? Because accepting something as it is right now allows us to unlock the feelings that we're not feeling about this now. It allows us to unlock, to crack open and have an experience of the feelings we're resisting because it's painful and we don't want to. And with every feeling that I've experienced, and I've experienced all of them, I can say, from grief to terror to trauma to exuberance to bliss to rage to anger, all of them in my own way and through my own life experience, when I've accepted them and the experience momentarily for what it is, it creates an experience of accepting myself in that moment and having the feelings. And now when I accept the feelings as I'm having them in that moment, and this is what you can do now in your life in this moment, is accept there's nothing that you can do to change how things are right now. Nothing. Just for a minute, right? I mean that literally and figuratively. For 1 minute, except there's nothing you can do to change anything, right? And notice how you feel when that happens. Let yourself feel it. Let yourself be with yourself in that. And now, with that new, renewed sense of surrender and openness to yourself, take appropriate action, right? Okay. So let's get back to the focus of this video here. Focusing on them, on their struggle 100% of the time is absolutely unhelpful. Anytime there is a struggle that happens in a family, we need to first, if their safety is at risk, deal with that. If their safety is not at risk and there's not an imminent threat for their safety, reflect. You know, the old adage of putting on your oxygen mask on an airplane before you help others. Make sure you, whenever you see this on an airplane, notice this because this is figurative and an adage about emotional work. Put on our proverbial oxygen mask first before we put on the oxygen mask of others, right? navigate, accept, appreciate ourselves and our own emotional experience before we help others. We'll be so much more effective. We'll have more perspective. We'll have greater ideas. We'll have a greater depth to be of service to them. Yes? Okay. The other thing to practice in this moment of struggle is to be grateful. Now, I'm not talking about being grateful for the experience. I'm not talking about being grateful for, well, it could be worse. You know, they could be dead, or they could be failing more classes, or there could be more holes in the wall, or whatever it is. They could be doing more drugs. I'm not talking about that. Being grateful. Just try being grateful for what is, right? There is a way, and let me give you an example. One way of living life is being grateful for every experience you have. Why? Because having an experience, and I'm talking about an emotional experience, having an emotional experience allows you to experience life in more depth and more color. If you can be grateful for, a friend of mine the other day was jealous for me about something that I was doing and having in the world, which it was an amazing thing, which I won't go into now, but I had this great experience, and they were like, I gotta say I was jealous. And I was like, okay, thanks for sharing. And then before I could even reply more, they said, and I had to tell you, I was grateful for the experience of jealousy because I haven't had it in a while, right? Every emotional experience that we have teaches us something about ourselves. It has the potential for us to see the world in a different way if we express our gratitude for that thing, whatever it is. So you might be something that you could practice. I know this sounds a little Pollyanna, but believe me, there is a wisdom of truth inside of it because I've been practicing this for 25 years. And now I'm in the point of anytime I'm experiencing something frustrating, irritating, sad, I'm being hard on myself, I feel like I've failed, I made a mistake, I impacted other people in some way that was unhelpful. I can always navigate. I can always find my way to be grateful for this experience. Why? Because somehow I know I'm growing because I'm having an emotional experience. And if I can be grateful for it, it means I'm not resisting it. And if you resist an emotional experience, guaranteed it will stick around longer and more intensely than it needs to. Yes? So practice. You don't have to be great at it in the beginning. I'm just telling you that there is a gem of insight, of wisdom, of comfort, of transformation on the other side of being grateful for an emotional experience. All right, what else do I have for you here? Suffering is an expression of resistance. Pain is temporary. If we feel like we're suffering, look for yourself. Contemplate for yourself what you might be resisting inside of yourself. Yes, you might be resisting accepting that your child is really struggling and they're doing things that you don't want them to do. They're hurting themselves and other people in the ways that you wish that they weren't. Fine. Practice accepting that this is the way it is for right now. You will do something about it, and you will find ways to help them. And there's a lot that I've said about how to create influence and how to create structure, to create compelling ways for them to change and transform and take responsibility. For right now, accept that this is just the way that it is. And see if there is anything within this experience that you are resisting. Because resistance is the origin of suffering. One of the origin points of suffering. Pain is temporary, right? It may last for a minute, but the more that we accept something uncomfortable is happening inside of us, or even outside of us, then trace it back to the experience of what the pain is inside of us, and accept that it's happening. This is the way it is. Have a good cry. Have a good venting session with your friend, your therapist, your coach, your partner. Just accept that it's happening and see what gets unlocked. It may not happen the first time you do it or the 5th time that you do it, but if you're earnestly attempting and practicing, I should say, accepting experiences inside of you, 1, and 2, accepting that the way things are out there in the world for a minute are the way they are, you will create the opportunity to have a new perspective and a new life in terms of how you relate to those things. All right. Leave a comment below. Give a thumbs up if you enjoyed the video, if it was helpful. Hit subscribe if you'd like, and list any comments or questions that you have about this below, and I'll do my best to answer them. All my best to you. I'm with you.